Hey guys, Rachele here with Amethyst Ascension. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you so much for joining me again. So today I am doing a like a walkthrough slash my first impression slash kind of like a review of the Real Sky Astrology Tarot, the workbook, and the actual deck itself by Julia Watts. And oh my goodness, let's just get right into it because I don't want this to be super long, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit on the longer side, and I apologize, but I just really want to do this deck and workbook justice. So just to get past a few things first that people always like to ask, this is the box that it comes in. It's just your simple tuck box, which you guys know I do not really care for tuck boxes, but it is what it is. And I know that we have to cut down on costs sometimes, and this is one of the ways. And not to mention, we're not using up a bunch of resources, right? So that's a good part of it. I plan on actually putting it in a handmade leather pouch that I am going to be making anyways. Leather, like brown leather. So, or satchel that I'm going to be making. And adorn it with some really cool beads or put a cabochon on it or something. I'm just going to make it look really excellent. So I really want to do it justice. So I wanted to start with the workbook, but as I go, I'm going to show you the actual cards as we go. This is like the author card or creator card that just is in the deck as well. That's the first card that also comes in it. It's like a title card. We talk about, or she shows the different parts of it, the quadrants, planetary placement in your charts, the interpersonal planets like the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus. She goes through all those. Jupiter, Saturn. And then she goes to the generational marker planets, Uranus. There's a mysterious missing planet. And then we have Neptune. And then she goes through the signs of the Zodiac. And then she also goes through the moon signs. And puts that in terms of tarot. You know, astrology and tarot, mixing them together. This is not Western. This book actually shows you how to transfer from Western, like your Western chart, and convert it into real sky. And she shows you or tells you about different apps. She talks about an Apple app, and I can't remember where that's at. That was like let me find it. And then she talks about the sciences. She talks a little bit about the history of astrology. And then she talks about the language, symbols, and structure of the astrology, the houses, gates, and hours. And she talks about how we are actually in the age of Pisces right now. However, I'm sure unless you've been living under a rock, you have heard the term the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's because we are on the cusp of the age of Aquarius. And with that, she is updating, you know, all of the different houses and everything. They're like merging into the age of Aquarius. This is her system that she has created. But Western astrology was actually created at the time of the age of Aries. And the sky is fixed, or should I say that the actual system, the Western astrology system, is a fixed system. So it's based on like the seasons, you know. One moment. So with that being said, she suggests a couple of different apps, or one app if you're using an iPhone, and which I would show you, but I use my phone to record. But there's another app that I use, and I will put both of them, links to both of them down below if you're using a Android device or whether or not you're using an Apple device for these particular phone applications that you can use. And what it does essentially is you can like time travel with these apps. You can put in your date of birth, where you were at, just like you would, you know, going on and getting a birth chart, but it'll actually show you where the planets were, you know, what zodiac signs and all that. The sun, where the sun was, where the moon was, in comparison to, or I should just say it'll show you where, and then you can use that information. Sorry, it's really windy outside. And use that information in order to convert from your Western astrology chart to your real sky. So anyways, I don't want to ramble too much, but she shows going from like the age of Pisces and what each one of the houses signifies, and moving that as we merge into the age of Aquarius. So what the first house would be signifying the second house, and on, because roughly every age is about 2,160 years. So, and we are entering into the age of Aquarius probably in about 300 to 400 years, or 200 to 400 years. Let's just put it that way. So we see the next page where she has put it into like the different houses and stuff like that, meanings for the age of Pisces and Aquarius, a transition. Because if you are somebody that is researching astrology, and if you're anything like me, you would kind of understand this. I am on the cusp. In Western astrology, I'm on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. But in Vedic astrology, I am on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. So you can take on both of those energies. So wouldn't it be, in my opinion, from my understanding, you would take on the energies of both of those. It would be like a merging. And that is, to my best knowledge, that is what she has done here, which makes perfect sense to me. So she shows you like symbolism, and like the glyphs and stuff like that, so you can use that. This is an example of what a traditional Western chart would look like, and in real sky, and how to convert. So she starts telling you the steps, and on to the next page as well. And one of the things also that I love about this system is that she put this in a like spiral notepad or book that you can easily flip it down on itself. It's really flexible. It's wonderful for working with. But also, if you are like me and you don't want to write in your book, you can simply lay this on a flatbed and make as many copies as you want. Let's say you want to perfect it. You want to, you know, if you're like a journaler and you're worried about your writing and all that, so you want to use a copy of it, and then eventually, once you have it all down, then transfer it in like your final copy kind of thing. Then you can do that. And she has provided so much of that in this book that there's, you know, a lot of room for learning and growth as far as this system goes. So we start off in the tarot with the World card. And the essential concept for this one is your personal myth. So it's your astrological chart. It's like your blank chart, right? Or, you know, your world shown to you after it's filled in with all of your planets and all that. So that's pretty cool. Then the second one we have is the Ace of Wands. And essentially this card depicts this corner right here, which is colored in. It is called the first quadrant. It's the Ace of Wands. And this card essentially is the things that you have control over that no one else sees. So what that means is this is your first, second, and third house. So if you have planets, depending on what your first house is, like let's say for instance your first house is Gemini, like mine. Okay, so then it would continue to go around because your houses are based off of your ascending sign. So whatever your rising sign or ascendant sign is in astrology, that becomes the sign for your first house. So let's say I also had a planet. Let's say I had Mercury in Gemini. Well, Mercury is the, what is the word? It's the ruler of Gemini. So I would have that in my first house. If it shows up here, then it means the concept is that it's the things that I have control over that no one else sees. And so if you learn a little bit more about Mercury, the planets and what they stand for, Mercury has to do with communication. It is like the mental planet. So, and it can do with electronics and stuff like that. So, anywho, I would be able to have control over like my thoughts and my communication, but other people will not necessarily see it because it is below the horizon. So that's what this card shows. And then, of course, another page for introspection and writing down your findings. The next one we have is the second quadrant. This is above the horizon. So this one depicts your 12th, 11th, and 10th houses, and it would be the things that you manifest that everyone can see because above the horizon is public. So that's what that would signify. And of course, another page for your thoughts. And then we have the third quadrant, which is the Ace of Pentacles, or the Ace of Coins. You have Pentacles, essentially. And this one is things that happen to you that everyone knows about because it is above the horizon, but it's on this side where you do not control what happens. This side of your chart, your eastern or ascending side is the side that you control. And this side is your descending side that you don't necessarily have control over the things that happen to you. However, this is on the public because it is if you were born like during the day, whatever, like during the daylight hours, and these are night hours. These are what you keep private. And the last one, which is the fourth quarter, we have as Ace of Swords. And that is the thing that just happens to you that no one knows about. So these are, if you have planets and houses, these are the areas of your astrological chart that nobody else knows about that just happened to you. That could be good or bad. But it's not necessarily something that you share with the public. It's stuff that you keep private. So just by knowing those parts, you're learning big things to do with astrology. So, bonus card. When reading your astrology chart, the planets that are on the right half of the chart in the gold shaded area are the areas of our lives where things just seem to happen to us beyond our control, right? When reading your astrological chart, this side, the red shaded area are the areas of our lives where we have control and can make things happen. Oops. And then we have this one. And this one is for public lives. So above the horizon. So your house is 12 through 7. Whatever planets are in there. And whatever zodiac signs those houses represent. That'll give you a good idea. Of course, whatever the 7 through 12 houses, what they represent. And that's a beautiful thing about this system. I love that she is incorporating the merging from one age to another, which just makes sense to me. She's like updating it. And then, of course, this is the last one of these types. And this just shows below the horizon. Any of the green shaded areas are the parts that are where we keep private. Then we get into the inner planets and the sun and what the sun means in your chart. So there's that. Symbolizes where you shine, your logical conscious, and self, your ego. Okay? Sorry, I know this is kind of awkward. Then the next one we have is the Elder of Dawn. And this is the timeless message. The Elder. And now it says that the Elder of Dawn is considered a court card in the Real Sky Astrology Tarot. She is more powerful than a father, king, or a mother queen in this deck, which gives the Elder priority over the usual court cards. Hierarchy. She isn't associated with an element. Instead, she's associated with a position of power. In a reading, the timeless message imprinted on the person as, wait a minute, associated with the position of power. In a reading, this is a timeless message imprinted on the person as they entered the physical world. All right, so this is like your ascendant. This has to do with like your rising sign. And then we have Midheaven, which is at the top of your chart. It's actually the south, but it's your Midheaven. And this is the Elder of Midheaven will be considered a court card. She is more powerful than a father or a mother in this deck, which gives the Elder a priority over the usual court card hierarchy. She isn't associated with an element. Instead, she's associated with a position of power. In a reading, this Elder is a public source for wisdom and sustenance for the soul. So she's like right at the top of the chart, right in the center, the Midheaven, where she is like the highest point in your chart, and she's also what people can see, public. And then we have your Descendant, which would be whatever is descending on the horizon, the western horizon at the time of your birth. And it's usually like around like your seventh, between your sixth and seventh houses. And this Elder is in your reading to help you to make a transition from one situation to another, allowing one thing to end and another to begin. And it says in a reading, this Elder is the guardian of transitions and closures. And closure, I should say. Elder of Sunset, the western horizon and portal of the far world. Interesting. And then we have the Nadir, Elder of the Invisible. And the vertical division between the left and the right sides of the lower half of your chart. So it's like, if you're looking at your chart, it's right down here at the very bottom, in between your left and right, or yeah, your right and left. And this one is, in a reading, this Elder is guardian of your connection to the other world. In your reading, it indicates the need to connect to your dream messages and other signposts that may indicate that knowledge is being offered to you. All right. And then we move on to the Moon. Make sure I'm still staying. The Moon, the subconscious mind, the soul, and the hidden self. So this represents the subconscious mind. And, you know, normally what it does indicate in the tarot. So it says, let's see, Artemis, Hecate, Selene, Thoth, Kronos, Diana, Luna, crescents, circles, crosses, squares, half circles, and cats, symbols and gods and goddesses of the ancient Mediterranean area. Meaning of the card, symbolizes the subconscious mind, the soul, and the hidden self. It's perhaps more crucial than the sun in reading for understanding the true self. In traditional tarot cards, the moon is usually defined as deception. However, in this deck, the moon card approaches the idea of deception as the obsession with aligning everything to the more widely noted solar system. The moon has its own distinctive logical cycle that is very similar to the female reproductive cycle. The moon was most likely originally used for our first mothers to track their sacred blood, mysteries, and birthing cycles. So, I just love how she just like, I mean, some of these, you'll see as we move on, but I love the associations and how it's so closely tied in with astrology, tarot and astrology. So then we move to the Four of Wands, a new moon. So the Four of Wands is considered a new moon. Meaning of the card. The card meaning for the Four of Wands is new beginnings. This card in a tarot spread would signal a time of finishing the old and starting something new. It can also indicate a time to rest before beginning anything, a time of rumination and the listing of ideas before jumping into the next project. You see how she just put that, I just love it. She talks about how in your chart what it means, the card image, the essential concept. The new moon phase symbolizes always being in the beginning and seeing life as an ever-opening bud. The intuition rather than logic rules here. The protection of self on others' motivations, very powerful for beginnings and endings. And then the next one for the Four of Cups is the first quarter moon. The first quarter moon phase symbolizes the power of reconstruction. After foundations are destroyed, rethinking and reconstruction of a situation is brought to the forefront. And then she goes on to tell the meaning of the card and what it means in your chart. And then we have, the Four of Cups, which is the full moon. The full moon phase symbolizes generosity and the need to give to others. This phase implies an intuitive, objective understanding of self and others. And as I said, it goes on to the meaning of the card, time frame, and what that means in your chart. Then we have the Four of Swords, the last quarter moon. And this is the last quarter moon phase, symbolizes the power of an acute awareness of ideals and high standards and implementation of these standards into daily life. Disappointment can occur if these standards are not met. Then we have, now I'm going to start going a little bit faster through this area, just because they are all similar. I want to show you the first set, and then it goes through several of them like that, and then I'll just show you the cards. So the first one is Mercury, which is the Hermetic. So I'm thinking that that is like the Hierophant. So essential. Mercury symbolizes the mental processes and communication. Describes the form that these functions will take in your personality. So then we go to the meaning of the card, and then we go to what that means in your chart, astrological chart. But something that she has done here is associated Mercury with the threes. So we've got Mercury Conjunction, which is the Three of Wands. Planetary conjunctions merge the energies of two or more heavenly bodies when in conjunction with Mercury, and the other bodies take on a cerebral communicative, if I can speak, nature. So, the wands are the conjunction. The cups are squared. Let me show you what that means. Planetary squares create friction between the energies of two or more heavenly bodies. When a planet squares with Mercury, communication and thinking may be at odds. Squares have a hard time understanding each other, and with neither square being able to see the point of view of the other blockages occur. When confronted by squares, the rule of thumb is when you can't do exactly what you want, at least do what you can until the square passes. So, Mercury squared. These are all things, aspects that you will find in your chart. And if you're asking questions, well, I don't understand what that means, this deck will specifically show you, after placing everything in your chart, like even the cards, it'll go through and it'll show you what that means in your own chart. It's fascinating. So then we get onto Mercury in opposition, which is the Three of Coins. Planetary oppositions cause awareness between two or more heavenly bodies. When a planet opposes with Mercury, communication and thinking may become clearer. The viewpoints may not be the same, however, we often learn about where we stand and how to articulate our views when we are confronted by someone who has opposing views. Oppositions, like barbells, make us stronger. When confronted by opposition, the lesson maybe not necessarily to change the mind of the opposing force, but to offer up a model of behavior that will strengthen someone else with your point of view to see themselves clearer. So that's what the oppositions mean, and which are the coins. And then the last one, which many of you have heard about, which is the retrograde, right? So Mercury retrograde, so it's the 3, but it's the swords. The swords are the retrogrades. So retrograding planets take the energies of the planet and internalize it. For Mercury, rethink, redo, edit, reorganize, reconcile, reminisce, reiterate. And of course, only half joking here, against your better judgment, change every password on every account, no matter if you want to or not. Okay. So that is because Mercury is associated with all the 3s in the tarot. So the swords are associated with the retrograde. And then we move on to the next, which is Venus, the Empress. As I said below, she has information on each one of these, the meaning of the card, and what that means in your chart. They are used as the 5s. The 5s symbolize the Empress energy. Planetary conjunctions, and we have the conjunction again. She did mention the 5-pointed star shows up in the core of the apple and in the flower as well. The 5-petaled flower of wild roses, sacred to the love goddess. It is also not a coincidence. The dove is sacred to the goddess of love. There is a juxtaposition in the beauty of thorny roses. I'm sorry, guys. I have to keep on pausing and starting again because Soli is just being a bear for me. Oh, where was I? The pattern is reflected in symbols and objects sacred to the ancient goddess Venus. So that's why we have the 5s. The Empress is associated, or the goddess is associated with the 5s. And so, yet again, we have the conjunction is the wands. The squared is the cups. The coins is the opposition. And the swords is the retrograde. And then we move on to Mars. These patterns are the way that the rotation goes around, how Mars rotates. So that's how she's used it. That's what the symbols are for. And Mars is represented by, or the Emperor is represented by Mars. And the 7s. So we have the 7 of Wands is Mars conjunction. Mars squared is the 7 of Cups. Mars opposition is the 7 of Coins. And the 7 of Swords is Mars retrograde. And as before with all the other stuff, she shows you the meanings. She tells you why she's associated that. And then she also explains what that means in your chart, where it falls in your chart. So then we have Jupiter, which is the high priest. And so the high priest, oh, I wonder if that's the Hierophant. I don't know. It's the high priest. Let's put it that way. It is the high priest. And Jupiter is associated with the high priest. Jupiter is associated with the twos. So the Two of Wands is the conjunction. Two of Cups is the squared. The Two of Coins is the opposition. And the Swords is the retrograde. On each one of these, she has places for you to make notes after each planet. So the next planet that we're dealing with is Saturn, which is the Tower card. That is the pattern that Saturn makes when rotating. So Saturn is associated with the eights in the tarot. So the Wands are the return. The squared is the cups. Saturn return, because Saturn rotates roughly every 29 years. Is that what it says here? 28 to 30 years, roughly. So this signifies your first return, which is usually around the age of anywhere from 28 to 30 years old. You'll get your first return. Then the next one is Saturn squared is the cups. The opposition is the coins. And the retrograde is the swords. Okay. So then we move on to the big generational planets. What that pretty much means is those are the planets that are out. They're further out. So the rotation takes much longer. And I'm not sure if she... Yeah, so Uranus, which is the next one we're going to be talking about, is the third largest planet in our solar system, and it is an ice giant with an orbit taking 84 years to complete, which means it goes through the full cycle of all 12 zodiac signs within an 84-year period of time. So, which means it can last in each sign... I know it differs. It doesn't look like she has it here, or I'm not seeing it. But anyways, it can take some time. I think it's like 12 to 15 years or something like that. So, we have the first one being the Uranus Conjunction is the sixes. The sixes are associated with Uranus. And then we've got the 6 squared is 6 of cups. Uranus squared is the 6 of cups. 6 of coins is the opposition. And the retrograde is the 6 of swords. So then we move on to... And like I said, there's little things down below for each of these as well. And then we go on to the 9th planet. The mysterious, felt, but not tangible. The little understood gas giant was likely ejected from our solar system and sacrificed itself to save Earth. So, there was another planet that was pushed out of the solar system. And this is the mysterious planet. And how that affects us. And she's using the 9s in order to associate with. So we've got the conjunction of 9 of Wands, the squared, planet 9. Squared is the 9 of Cups. The coins is opposition. And the retrograde is 9 of Swords. And then we've got Neptune, which is 165 years. And something else I didn't show, but she's actually got dates also. How that would because each of these are like longer periods of time. Does she not have it in here? Okay, maybe not. So Neptune, she does. I could have swore I seen it. So, for instance, I was born in 71, so January of 1971, it moved into Scorpio. Neptune did, which is its ruling planet. So, first one we have is for Neptune conjunction, 10 of Wands. Neptune squared, 10 of Cups. Neptune opposition, 10 of Coins. And Neptune retrograde is 10 of Swords. Then we get into the Zodiac. And she talks about it, the ancient Egyptian stars of the southern sky and the stars of reincarnate. She's got more information. I'm not going to go into too much because I'm trying to just get through this as quickly as I can. Then we've got Cancer, which is the Chariot, Cancer of Scarab. Oh, yeah, Cancer of Scarab. And then information. Then we've got Leo, meaning of the sign, symbols and gods and goddesses associated. Same with the Cancer card, the Chariot, meaning of the card and what that means, where it's found in your chart. Then we've got the High Priestess, which is Virgo. And same with the symbols, all that, the meaning of the signs, meaning of the card, and what that means in your chart. She goes through each and every one of them with the page here as well. Same with Justice. Justice being Libra. Scorpio, Temperance. The Serpent Bearer is the Magician. Sagittarius is the hero villain. And these are different associations than what your Western associations are. Capricorn being the Wheel of Fortune, because Capricorn is usually the devil. We have Aquarius being the Star. We have Pisces being Judgment. We have Aries being the Hanged Man, which is usually the Emperor. Taurus, we have with Death, and usually that is Scorpio. We have Gemini with the Lovers, and Orion as the Fool. Interesting. Let's see what it says. I want to see what it says for Orion, because I'm all about the Fool and I'm all about Orion, so let's find it and see what it says, just to give you an idea of a full page. All right. God of the Underworld. The image for the Fool in Real Sky Astrology Tarot is Osiris, Orion, followed by Isis, Sirius, Canis, Canis Major. Just as Osiris is about to step off of the ledge, Karnak Temple and Karnak's sacred lake are also visible. A beautiful bejeweled box floating in the lake is an offering to Osiris for his jealous brother Set. Osiris is a grain god and personifies the death and resurrection of vegetation. Osiris is likely the first of many future death and resurrection gods in the ancient world. Osiris, like the Zodiac, represents the idea of reincarnation and immortality in the afterlife. In ancient Egypt, the god/king Pharaoh is considered Horus in life, but becomes Osiris at death. Orion, along with the dog star Sirius, disappears each year as it merges with the sun. During the height of the early Egyptian star cult period, the rising of Orion and Sirius coincided with the annual Nile floods, and an elaborate mythology evolved from this phenomenon. In later era Osiris cults merged with the sun cults, and Osiris became the sun god who traveled nightly through the body of the sky goddess. This other/inner world of the goddess Nut is called the Duat. The mystery religions of Greece and the Middle East find their origins in the Egyptian mysteries and tell similar stories of death and rejuvenation. Looking closely at the constellation of Orion and the mythology of Osiris, it becomes clear that the illustrations and the images of the traditional Fool and Tarot mimic the behavior of the constellation Orion and the dog star Sirius as they disappear into the sun for 70 days. Orion is a notable constellation in numerous cultures across the world and is also associated with Hercules, mortal hero of ancient Greek and Roman mythos, who also undergoes many trials as he seeks immortality. The constellation of Orion, though prominent in the night sky, is not included in the zodiac. Orion is set apart from the zodiac, much like the Fool is set apart from the trumps, and the shaman is separate from the tribe. Going through shamanic death is often referred to being dismembered or remember. The images include the Fool as he is about to fall off of a cliff, plunging unexpectedly into the underworld. Shamans, like fools, seldom chose their roles in life. They are more likely... Okay, sorry, where was I? Shamans, like fools, seldom chose their roles in life. They are more likely and reluctantly to have their roles chosen for them. Osiris, little guardian/dog, nipping his heels, pushes him into his first journey down the rabbit hole or off the precipice into the unknown. Time frame and unique patterns. Orion and the dog star Sirius merge with the sun and disappear for 70 days. Ancient Egyptian funerary and embalming rites also lasted 70 days. Great care was taken in preserving the dead in ancient Egypt. For as long as the body was preserved, the soul would not have to reincarnate and could dwell at the Duat. Oh. Symbols and gods and goddesses of the ancient Mediterranean area that would be associated with this would be Osiris, Jesus, Mithra, shaman/sacred clown, Tammuz, and Hercules. The meaning of the card is, in a reading, this card predicts a leap of faith. It can also suggest simply stumbling upon something. It may also be interpreted as seeing the lighter side of a situation, a person on the fringe of society, or a person who was tricked into doing something. The Fool tends to look at things as if they are all good, only to find a downside. This card can also signify a person who is at the beginning of a significant life journey. Orion is not on the ecliptic, although there are times when the moon visits the top of Orion. Orion is located between Taurus and Gemini, and it is worth checking out where this Lord of Death and Resurrection is in your chart. He's right on my friggin' eastern horizon. All right. So then we go into the moon signs. The dreamer who we're going to do first the moon in Pisces. The dreamer who enjoys dreaming things up more than making the dreams up or a reality. Moon in Pisces. Moon in Aries is the Father of Swords. And this one was the Child of Water. So these are like your court cards, other than the elders, which are higher than your kings and queens. So then we've got the Moon in Aries, Father of Swords. Oops. Which is, I am the portal between death and rebirth. I am the sun at midnight. Then we've got the Mother of Swords. The pragmatist, which is Moon in Taurus. Then we've got the Moon in Gemini, Child of Air, which is we two are one. Like the twins. Then we've got the Father of Wands, the Moon in Cancer, which is, I return because I feel a connection. Then we've got the, oh my gosh, that's so gorgeous, Mother of Wands. This is the Moon in Leo. I will, is what it says. Then we've got the Virgo Moon, Child of Earth, which my Moon is in Virgo. When energy is blocked, shake it up. Oh, that's the cistern that she was talking about. Yeah, I need to get the cistern. Yeah. And the Moon was in the lower part that people did not see. It was in my bottom left-hand chart, or yeah, so it was coming up on the horizon, but it was still in the evening. So it was the part that I do not show the public, but that I have control over. My Moon was. Moon in Libra, Father of Cups, balance in all things. Moon in Scorpio and the Serpent Bearer, which is the Mother of Cups. And that is, the cure is in the cause. Wow, isn't that gorgeous? Child of Fire, Hero and Villain, Moon in Sagittarius. That means hero villain. We have the Moon in Capricorn, Father of Coins, guidance. And the last one, we've got the Mother of Coins, so gorgeous. And this is for Moon in Aquarius, and this is timing. Obviously, there's more that I have not touched on because this is so deep. Saturn pattern activities, Saturn squared, how to do a birthday reading for yourself and others, birthday reading continued. This is fascinating. Journey through the duat, the 12 hours of the night. The 12 hours of the night from the tomb of Tutmosis III. And then we've got this one, which is showing the journey through the hours of the duat for the age of Pisces, which is what we're in now. And because we are emerging into the age of Aquarius, the same spread, but with different meanings because the house meanings have changed. They're merging into the new house system. And then we've got Uranus generational marker activity. The oppositions. Okay, here is the timeline. I thought I had seen it. So like, for instance, 1971, it was in Virgo. Uranus was in Virgo for me between 67 and 1977. And I was born in 71. So then we've got Neptune, 10 of Coins, Tree of Life spread. How friggin' cool is this? Seriously. Room to, write down your findings. Then we've got the glossary of different kinds of terms. A little bit about the artist and author, which is Julie Kusha Watts. And there you have it, guys. All right, let me just tell you, because I am learning astrology. I am learning both Western and Vedic astrology. And now I am learning the real sky astrology. I find it all fascinating. But I will tell you that this deck really, I have learned so much because of this book and when she did my chart. Not to mention, I am learning a lot about the basics, but this really helped me put like 2 and 2 together in certain areas. And if you're into astrology, even if you're just brand new into astrology, this is perfect. Perfect, because it's still fundamentally the same structures. The dates might be off because this is based off of using your actual, checking what the real sky was. So it's like using an almanac or astronomy to check where it was actually at, instead of Western astrology, which is based off of a fixed system of like the seasons. So I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you go and check this out. I'm going to be putting a link to where you can get this. It's through Lulu. You can get it off of her website, but it goes through Lulu and it's sent to you. And then also where you can get the deck of cards. I will say that these are a little bit more pricey. I think this was like $75 shipped to me, and this was like almost $40 shipped to me. But when you think about all of the learning that you get from this, it's like taking a full astrology course, which can easily cost you well over $200. And this is in a new system that actually works with the real sky alignments. And on top of that, you are getting a tarot deck, something that is tangible, that you can use forever. You're not just getting a chart one time. You are using a system that you can go off and learn other people's charts and help them learn how to do it. But it also, look at all of this artwork. All these paintings that she did. So I say it is so worth it. I hope you have enjoyed this. I know this was a bit longer, but I really wanted to give it really, good justice by showing you everything and trying to explain the best I can. Obviously, I can't. The best way is to get this for yourself and just dive in and just enjoy it. And then let's talk about it. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you grab it. All the links will be down below, and be expecting in April an interview with Julie. Just getting to know her a little bit, and we're going to be talking about this and her other decks, and I am sending you love and light. Thank you so much.